Hello, nicotine warriors. My name is Nicholas Joel Farrar. I'm here today to answer an extremely commonly asked question about nicotine. Where, of all places, should you place a patch? I myself, during this video, am wearing a 7 milligram patch on my forearm. Now, why am I so interested in nicotine and what is my background? Well, let me tell you, unlike Dr. Bryan Ardis, I don't hold a doctorate, okay? You won't see any credentials on the wall behind me. I'm not a doctor. Who I am is a grown-up Make-A-Wish kid. I went to Disney World in a wheelchair when I was 11 years old. I was wasting away from extreme chronic Lyme disease. And the Western allopathic medical system left me for dead. And they only wanted to numb my symptoms with pharmaceuticals. And by the grace of God, I'm alive here today and standing in a body that is free of so many of the hundreds of symptoms that I used to deal with. And so I do my best to share what I learned along my path of holistic healing and hopefully save you some time and money, because I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars during my life on a lot of treatments that didn't do shit, okay? So nicotine, I believe, is not a magic bullet by any means, but I've had incredible results during the time I've used it. Before we get much further, I recommend you buy this book by Dr. Bryan Ardis. It's going to answer a lot of your questions. He does an amazing job of laying out complicated scientific information in a way that is easily digestible for the common person. This book is also incredibly powerful. I got very emotional reading it because it was just the power written in this book. It's really intense. And you might look at me and think I look like a soft hippie, but let me tell you what, I do not cry easy, and I shed tears reading this book. It was that inspiring to me, and it motivated me to learn as much as I can about nicotine so that way I can help other people. I'll inevitably be asked, what patch do I use? Tolevita anti-smoke patch. This is a 21 milligram patch. That's why what you'll see on my arm is a skinny little strip, because I cut it down into thirds. Why do I use Tolevita versus something like Rugby, which is what many other people are using? Rugby felt like cutting off a chunk of a plastic cutting board and using industrial glue to adhere it to myself. Okay? I didn't like it. I'm an herbalist. And that means that whenever possible, if there's a whole plant version of a formula, I choose to use that. So I use Tolevita because it uses a natural tobacco extract, as well as a variety of essential oils that I believe work synergistically to create a really great, well-rounded effect. And I've had very powerful effects from this. Don't get lost in the Amazon reviews where people are like, these patches didn't do shit, they're fake. It wasn't fake for me. It was so powerful that even though I already had a nicotine tolerance, I immediately had a Herxheimer reaction from these patches. And if you're unfamiliar with what a Herxheimer reaction is, and you want to learn the fundamentals of detox in regards to nicotine, I encourage you to watch the in-depth video on my channel. The title is Nicotine Patches, Detox, Lyme, and COVID with an injection emoji. Side note, from the editing room of this video, if you want to save 10% off on your Tolevita patch order, I have a link for that. Check it out in the first comment of this video, or in the description if YouTube allows me to post it. Let's talk about what transdermal means. It means through the skin, basically. Our skin is the biggest organ of our body. What goes on our skin goes into our bloodstream extremely rapidly. It's kind of shocking when you look at the facts on how it works. And that should bring to mind that if you're able to put a patch of nicotine on your skin and affect your brain and your body to a significant degree, then what are all the cosmetics and soaps and lotions and all the different things that we get exposed to living a normal life? What are those doing to your body? That's something to consider as you move forward on your health journey. I'm going to use a very specific example that I saw in a Facebook group of where you can place patches. It's all individual. You have free license to get as creative as you want. It's your body. You're the only one who's going to deal with the consequences, good or bad. So this woman shared that she had trigeminal neuralgia. What this means is nerve pain in the jaw. So she described it as like electrical wires in her jaw. I myself have dealt with a variety of different types of nerve pain and nervous system / neurological disorder. So I know how infuriating it can be to have your nerves lit on fire. Thankfully, I've had a lot of relief when it comes to neuropathy with nicotine. Some people say that because nicotine is a central nervous system stimulant, then that means that they can't use it if they have neuropathy. Other people say that because nicotine is a vasoconstrictor, it constricts down blood vessels, that means that they shouldn't use it. Now, I've found great relief in a variety of ways, including nerve pain and muscle pain and joint pain and exercise recovery with nicotine, even though it does those things. So you got to think outside the box, okay? And learn for yourself and experiment. So this woman in a Facebook group, she shared that she had electrical pain in the nerves of her jaw. And she asked, does anyone have experience with this or ideas on how I can use the patches to alleviate this? She also had MS in addition to the nerve pain. Multiple sclerosis. Now, I could say a lot on the subject of MS, but for the sake of this video, let's just say it's nervous system dysfunction. Where would you think, if you had pain in your jaw, that you could put a patch? Now, I don't want to disparage this woman, but I'm assuming she did not have a beard as full as mine, which means she would likely have some space on her jaw where she could apply a patch without waxing away the hair with nicotine. That's what I would do if I were her. I would place it right by the ear, right over exactly where the nerve is that causes that pain. Another thought I had was that if she used an oral lozenge of nicotine, which for myself, the only nicotine I will put in my mouth is NicNac, NicNac Naturals. This is a very clean product that doesn't have a lot of the BS that a lot of the other lozenges have, okay? Zins, the pouches, they can be very bad and cause a lot of discomfort for a variety of reasons. In a future video, I will be sharing about the difference between patches transdermally and oral pouches or lozenges. You guessed it. I have a link for NicNac as well, if you want to save some cash. So I suggested to this woman that if she had an oral lozenge, she could put it inside her mouth, just on the other side of the jaw, and get a localized effect. This is the sort of open-minded thinking that you might want to embrace on your nicotine journey. Now, Dr. Ardis in his book also talks about a whole bunch of people that are dividing up their nicotine transdermal patches and applying them to problematic joints on their body. So let's say you had tennis elbow, okay? You had a strained elbow. Well, I would personally put it like right here because there's not going to be the flex of if you'd put it right on the elbow. That's the sort of common sense thinking that you want to embrace here, is that If you put the patch on a place that moves, it might be tricky to get it to stay on. Some people take their dose, whatever it is. You're going to have to figure out for yourself what the ideal dosage is. And they take their patches, and some people divide them into little tiny amounts, and they spread them all over their body because they have lots of different joints that hurt. I heard of one account where a man had nerve damage in his spine. And this man, because of his broken vertebrae, had nerve function that was impeded, but basically on either side of the broken vertebrae, he had nerve function. So he took his dose, he cut it in half, he put half above the damaged vertebrae and half below, and he was able to get relief. So there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can go about doing the patches. For myself, as you can see, I'm a hairy individual. I typically choose places that don't have body hair, the easiest of which are my forearms. I alternate day by day which arm I use, and I also don't put it on the exact same spot on my arms day after day. Variety is the spice of life, as they say. And you want to switch it up because your body can become used to having the same type of thing in the same spot over and over. So if you experiment with different parts of your body, for example, a headache, I've seen people asking about that. Well, you could do the base of the skull. If you had a shaved head, you could go anywhere on your skull, right? So viewing things holistically, for example, this woman with trigeminal neuralgia, that sort of nerve pain, it could relate to the dental system. It could relate to the sinus system. It could also relate to the cervical spine. So although this woman had pain in her jaw, going through the mouth with a lozenge, putting a patch on the back of her neck, doing a variety of different things could work, potentially. It's all individual, and we're all experimenting. Another placement to consider is either end of the spine, whether that is on the base of the skull or the bottom of the spine, aka the sacrum. Personally, I think that anything that targets the spine is going to have an increased systemic effect. My girlfriend, who is also endeavoring in nicotine, she likes to put it on her hip to target the femoral artery, which is a major source of blood supply for the lower body. So there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can go about this, and I encourage you to experiment, because all of us, we're experimenting on ourselves. We're being citizen scientists. So if I do something and I share it with my friends for them to consider, I call that a peer-reviewed study. I don't know about you. If you enjoyed what I had to say today and you would like to learn about nicotine and holistic health in general, I encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Victorious Vitality NJF. And if you're on Facebook, I invite you to join my personal health discussion group, where I do my best to answer questions publicly for others to benefit and learn, and I also share my own protocols. So if you're tired of the same old information and approaching things the same way, just getting old and stale, join my group and get as weird as you want. Ask the questions you want to ask. There's no such thing as a stupid question. And I know you're looking at me and you're thinking, this guy just looks like a run-of-the-mill, straight-laced guy who's going to follow the rules of the medical system line by line. But I encourage you, it's not the case. So, follow me for more. Thanks for listening.